Good morning, Steve.
I tell you, it's the endorsement I got from Elaine. Got a probably going to do a selfie with us, but this is probably doing. You look like you can catch. Can you hold this plate? Great, thanks. Don't drop it. There we go. All my secrets are there.
You don't understand. What Elaine is famous for, though, is riding in the Fort Worth rodeo every year.
I
And if
actually
you're nice
knew
to
that.
her,
Wears a different costume every year.
she looks wonderful. And if you're nice to her, she's going to let me ride with her next year for the mayor of Fort Worth. So I've got to be nice, make sure I get a good horse or something.
Well, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
We met a few months ago in San Francisco, and we talked about some of this. And one of the questions I didn't ask you then, but I'm interested in, do mayors look to other mayors for inspiration? Are there mayors in American history that you think of, wow, that was a great mayor, or are you just doing it your own way?
Obviously, history is very important, and I do that. I don't
go deeper.
Yeah. I think you
Names? Any names?
I was going to answer this, though. I was going to answer the inverse. What we love to do is not be the mayor that gets in all the trouble. Okay, it's sort of like the husband that doesn't get in trouble their wives. You know, you always kind of laugh at that, and it's kind of black humor, like, oh my God, I don't have to deal with that. But there are. The person that has inspired me the most is really the mayor of Dallas 50 years ago, 50 plus years ago. When President Kennedy was assassinated, it was really the nadir of the city.
Right.
And Eric Johnson, who was one of the co-founders of Texas Instruments, was convinced to take the job. He created a program called Goals for Dallas that's still taught in Harvard Business School from time to time about city planning. And he had the vision to partner with Fort Worth to create DFW Airport, which the island of Manhattan is smaller than our airport. I mean, wow. You know, so he said, dream no small dreams. And so I go back to him from time to time and say, am I worthy of his legacy?
Fascinating. When you wake up every morning, and I ask you what trouble were you into this morning when we were in the green room, what do you start out thinking about? What are the things that a mayor who's the chief executive of a city says, here's my North Star today? What do you most worry about? What are you worried about for Dallas, despite what I see as phenomenal economic news, 4.1% unemployment, you've got property values rising, you've got all sorts of good news, but what are the bad news points you're worried about right now?
Well, I approach it a little different. My North Star are four things, okay? And it's realize is what's happening in Dallas is not because of me. It really is because of the legacy of a lot of people. And so what I realize in that is that what I'm doing is either going to be setting people up for success in the future or failure. And so mine are four things, very simply, to make Southern Dallas a bigger tax base than North Dallas. And you've got to be from Dallas for everybody to go.
You had your first movie theater in Southern Dallas.
We did. Draft House, you know, in the Cedars. It was just
that's a
huge,
big deal.
Huge. And people can't believe that someday we could do that. Second, to make us the best urban school district in America, okay, and the schools don't report to the mayor, okay, but it's still my North Star. Third is to make us take our rightful place in the global stage. We are the fourth largest market in the United States, and we barely cracked. People think of us as global cities, okay? And we are so global. And then fourth, being the coolest place for artists and musicians and playwrights. We've got the largest arts district. So those are my four North Stars. And if I'm not doing something every day against those things, I can kind of put out the fires and deal with the city council and you know, do all those things that you've got to do as mayor. But that's what makes the job worthwhile.
Now, I caught an Uber last night from airport, and thank you for that. And my driver is a guy just 2 months out of college. I think he went to something called Texas Tech or something, and he's looking for a job right now. Fascinating guy.
Don't say something called Texas Tech.
Yeah,
You're gonna really offend Red Raiders.
I studied up a lot. I didn't do the universities here, but anyway, he was a very fascinating guy, and I asked him, you know, he's out there. He loves you, but he also loves Donald Trump, and so he you know. I tried to go deep into that, and
Like
I said,
this.
what,
We're like
what appeals to you about Mayor Rawlings and Donald Trump in the same sentence? And he says, you know, I feel that they're both really fighting for the economics of this city. I feel as if, you know, and he says, I know he talks a lot about the wall, but what he's really about are jobs, about, you know, making sure that the low guy gets a fair shake. And I said, Mayor Rawlings is doing that too. And so I'm interested to give you an opportunity to comment on my driver's thoughts here.
Well, I think your driver is exactly right about me. Okay? it's probably the way I would put it. Look, you're a CEO.
But it gets to the point of the economic.
It really
conditions.
does. Look, politicians get confused, okay? Their job is not to be the judge and jury and the arbiter of morals, okay? Their job should be the chief sales officer, the chief marketing officer, the chief growth officer of the institution, whether you're in a small town or Dallas, Texas. And now, you may need to do policy issues to accomplish that, but I think the spirit of what I think about, look, I talked about growth in Southern Dallas, growth in the global stage, you know, growth in education, which is all about jobs, as Elaine said earlier, okay? Those are the things, because the balance sheet, I mean, the value of Dallas is the property value, taxable property value, is $100 billion, okay? $100 billion. Last year, we had starts of $4.3 billion in 1 year, okay? That is a huge amount of starts in any city on that sort of base. Think about that. And so we had a very, very good year. Now, I got a bigger year. I was, you know, okay, I got to get better than that, but that's the way we should be thinking about it.
You know, when I interviewed the mayor last time, and I threw my cell phone away, but I was asking him that, you know, mayors like Rahm Emanuel in Chicago and Mayor Garcetti in Los Angeles actually have electronic dashboards. They can check out fires, transportation crises, what's going on the 10 freeway, and so they get all of this data fed into their phones. And I asked you what was on your dashboard. You didn't have one, but you said if you did, you would put crime, sales tax, and property values on your dashboard, and it's a completely unique response. I've never heard any of the many mayors that do that. So what is it with property values that you would put on your dashboard, and do you have a dashboard yet?
Well, because you said that, I felt very embarrassed, and I went back to our city manager, and we have created one, and he's kind of getting it vetted, because I don't like a whole bunch of things. I want 10 things on my dashboard, but those two are there because, look, the power of a good question. It is. It was. Yeah. When I think of a city, it's where people want to come and live.
Right.
If more people want to come and live, guess what happens to property values? They go up.
So it's an interesting barometer.
It is the barometer. If it's going like that, that means no one's wanting to move in. The census and the way government tracks numbers are always so far behind. They're 5 years behind when I read your magazine and I see things. Not because of your magazine, it's like those are the only data points you have. Property values and sales tax. I'm an ex-retailer, and to me, same-store sales year over year determines whether you're healthy or whether you're not.
Part of the challenge, I'm sure, of running a city and looking at your human talent, your human capital, not just attracting new talent in, but also taking the talent you have on hand and upgrading it, giving people there. One of the critiques of Dallas is that economic opportunity is uneven.
Yep.
And I'm interested in how you think about education and workforce and your talent pool, and what do you think is missing that needs to be either addressed or put in place to even out opportunity for people?
Well, I think it's a fair criticism, by the way. I mean, two cities of haves and have-nots. We've got a very rich town. We have 15 billionaires. That when Forbes list comes out every year, it's kind of the who's who of Dallas that are on that list. And that doesn't even count the 100 millionaires, you know, that are out there. But more kids, from a percentage standpoint, grow up in poverty in Dallas than any place of the big cities. And that's not good. And why is it not good? Not only the moral their lives, okay? But what I said earlier on, are we setting the city up to succeed long term? I feel good about Dallas for the next 5, 6, 7 years, all right? The question is what's going to happen in 15 or 20. And unless we deal with that issue, we're going to have a train wreck. And so, to me, understanding the catalytic mechanisms that have changed that is huge. And it's all about education. It is fundamentally 3-year-olds, she starts when the mama holds that baby and starts talking to her, you know, and gets them in preschool, the right preschool, gets them 3rd grade reading, okay, gets them to 6th grade math, and gets ready for college and beyond, or some sort of training to get one of the jobs that J.P. Morgan Chase will talk about later. I mean, there are, I think you're going to say 42,000 jobs in this area every year at $17 to $25 an hour. We can run an economy on that. The problem is, I have CEOs telling me we can't hire enough locally. They've got to be shipped in.
So what do you do? I mean, take us through as you think about not the data, but a human story. How do you change a human life that grew up on the troubled side of town, who's scrambling to kind of make everything work, maybe a single female, head of household, 3 kids, working 2 or 3 jobs. How do you impact that equation?
Well, first of all, to identify that it is a pivot point. You mentioned the best example. To me, the Women's Foundation here told me the largest group of people in poverty are, and I think it's 75%, 70%, are single-family moms with multiple kids. And guess what? They're not making $17 an hour or $20 an hour. They are struggling to get by.
Right.
And yes, would they love to be the president of the PTA? Yes, but they don't have time. They don't know how to do that. So that's why I think the systems have to be there. Now, once in a while, you see kids that power through that. A friend of mine graduated the valedictorian of Adamson High School. His dad cleaned the restrooms, which, by the way, as a retailer, cleaning restrooms is the most important job you can have, okay? You know, we think of that as a low job, but that's a really important job. And his mom cleaned houses. He powered through that, went to Georgetown, okay, and was a finalist for a Rhodes Scholar. And those individuals are wonderfully inspiring to me, and I spend time with them. We've got a program called the Mayor's Intern Fellows, where 300 kids will work at different banks and institutions around our city. The problem is, and Warren Buffett said this one time, the key in retail is that you've got to be brilliant once, and then you have to know how to scale it. Mm-hmm. It just can't be a Don that powers through that. We've got 160,000 kids in our school system, and 85, 90% of them are qualified for free or reduced lunch. So the key is, how do you scale that? So there are thousands of Adons, not just the rare bird.
Let me ask you, you know, a question about how you see race, and I want to go into this in a direction that one of my colleagues, Ta-Nehisi Coates, won the National Book Award this year for his book Between the World and Me, that talks about how American society has embedded biases that just tilt against, in this case, African Americans, but others. And I think the magazine, The Atlantic, won the National Magazine Award in part this year because of the quality of someone, Ta-Nehisi Coates' is very provocative and deep reporting on this issue. And as you look around the country, it's one of the biggest issues that mayors are dealing with. You know, Dallas hasn't been surfaced as one of those, but I mean, how do you think about the economics of racial intention and empowerment today? What are you doing about it? And what do you think other mayors ought to do?
Well, first of all, I think that report, and I did read it, was excellent, and it is one of the cornerstone issues in America today. And Dallas hasn't been there because I think we've had a good police chief over the last 5 or 6 years, a lot of community policing. We've made our mistakes, but we're the first to kind of say, you know, we've got an issue and we're going to deal with it. Second, I think our faith-based community is so strong here, okay? It's one of the stories in America that people don't talk about. In your most recent article about coming together, I would say faith is a big part, and so many great pastors in the African American community and in the white community, and so people are working on that. But we are right, if you just scratch the surface of Dallas, race shows up right there, okay? You know, we're very polite to each other, okay? But it's there. And to me, what I've learned, there's a race issue, and there's a race bias that we as whites are going to still don't understand. I'm a pretty progressive guy, but until I really lived it for the last 5 years, I didn't understand it the way I should have. And so it's there. But when you really talk to African Americans, okay, and Latinos in this community, you quickly get to economics. And this income disparity is the thing that's most irritating for people. That somehow we don't have what you got. And so the question is, how do you fix, what does social justice mean today in 2014? Or 16, whatever year we're in. Okay, God. You know, what is it?
Okay.
I'm mayor, I do these things. What is the issues about that? And I think about this income disparity gap, and that's why I work very hard and make a lot of African Americans mad at me from time to time on the education system, okay? Because we've got to change our education system in a marked manner. We're just like this. The only way we're going to do it is to go like that.
Now, I was also reading you've launched this Mayor's Star Council as a way to help change the game of access in the power points in the city.
We have, and it's
Tell us about
we've
that.
got several organizations, but quickly what we do is we started this when I became mayor. Professionals from 25 to 35. We don't want old people.
You
in there,
36-year-olds
okay?
are
They're
out
out.
there.
They're gone.
Sorry.
Okay? They're gone. And it is fabulous because the talent we have in the minority community is over the charts. And then I asked them to get involved, and they've created the Mayor's Rising Star Council. So they'll go to high school and grab some of those people that we just talked about. And I met a guy by the name of David Johnson who was out one Saturday morning cleaning a park because of this Mayor's Rising Star Council. And he had been the quarterback hero the night before, and his picture was in the paper, and he was a star quarterback and out there telling people to bring in some more grass to make things happen. It was inspiring to see that.
Let me ask you two quick other things before I go to all of you. You are a believer in not only big tent in town, but big tent out of town, bringing refugees in. And I know that's controversial. How do you? And it's one of the issues when you talked about Jim Fallow's piece on Can America Put Itself Back Together. He talks about hosting refugees and bringing people inside as one of the building blocks of a revitalized town. And so where does that fit in your equation of building a healthier Dallas?
It's not only a metric of being a global city. To me, it's an important attribute. At Christmas, we went to a place in Dallas, kind of 5 Points area, and a philanthropist wired all the trees with Christmas lights, and they were old hackberries, and they wasn't a very pretty thing, but it was that part of town had Christmas lights. Right. And so all the community came out, and I met a young girl from Burma. She was 11. A little girl from Malaysia, another girl from Guatemala, another girl from Syria. And you know what they were doing? They were playing on their cell phones. And they were running around like normal, 7th graders. And it was like, this is what Dallas is going to be. These kids are going to make it, okay?
Fascinating.
And I want more of that. Why do I not want more of that?
But it's controversial.
Well, of course, because people are scared, okay? And I look, being scared is a natural ability, but God gave us the power to choose courage and in our brains to figure out how you balance that. And so to me, I see it as a sign of strength to be able to bring people in. I don't want to play politics. I hate politics, okay? I hate it. I don't know why I'm mayor, okay, at times.
You know what I'm saying? I call a tweetable moment.
You know, it's like when people take issues and kind of, well, I'm going to get more votes for this or vote for that. That's what I think America is not like in politics today.
Last question, and we're going to go to the audience. Is Plano an opportunity or a headache?
Opportunity, okay?
And I asked that because Toyota's going in there.
Yeah.
It seemed to be the place getting a lot of headlines.
Yeah, well, first of all, there's this myth that somehow Dallas isn't growing because everybody's moving to Plano, and that's just not the fact, okay? The fact is that Dallas is growing.
Lane's opening a new big facility in Plano.
Okay, no, I know. She didn't make me happy. Jamie did not make me happy with this, okay? Okay, I'm as competitive as we can.
Yeah.
I look at it a little differently. I believe in a city named DFW,
Right.
okay? Because people come and, where you going? I'm going to Dallas, okay? And they might be going to Plano or Frisco or something like this. But that's the place we all live. Now, my neighborhood's called the City of Dallas. And I'm going to make our neighborhood the best we can. And I'm going to compete for every piece of business using what we've got. And I will tell you, technology is what we have. We are not becoming a technology center. We are. We got more technology employees than any place in the state of Texas.
Wow.
And what we're going to talk about today with these startups are happening here in Dallas, okay? And we are growing rapidly, and we're just so cool.
My Uber driver interviewed yesterday at a place that he said 2 years ago had 30 employees and today has 200, and they're thinking of hiring him. And he says that's in Dallas, and he said Dallas is growing like
We
crazy.
get more business from California with 200 companies moving downtown, okay? And it's a place, look, my good friend, the mayor of Plano, and my good friend, the mayor of Frisco, I love them. But don't you want to live like down here, okay? I mean,
Exactly.
really?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
Cool. Let's go to all of you. We have questions, comments? I saw you. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
What's on your t-shirt? That's cool.
The irons.
Boy, lots of requests here. Hello, everyone. I'm Stan. My name is Caitlin. I'm with the Iron Yard. I just had a question for Mayor Rawlings about, you're talking a lot about education. Are there any efforts to partner with organizations like mine and even Dead Mountain in this building?
We can,
I'll use my outdoor voice. Yes,
Yeah.
and partner with some of the more like technical schools that are, like
Yeah.
partner with Texas
Yeah.
Workforce Commission, that kind of stuff, to help educate the workforce here.
So private sector, public sector partnerships.
we have an amazing amount of private companies engaged with the public schools. So you're not one of them, okay? We need to get you engaged.
We've met with some of the
Okay.
high schools and
Good.
had partnerships.
Good, because there's a lot of effort there. And to me, the creative coding camps, the projects like that will change this city kind of from the ground up. Thank you.
Other comments, questions? Don't be shy or I'll just call on you. Yes, right here.
Reginald Grant with SteelQuest 75215. And you're talking about growth in Cedars and South Dallas. Tell us more.
Well,
Are you in South Dallas?
I work in South Dallas.
You work. Great.
so as you well know, it's our biggest growth opportunity. And there is a clarification. To me, southern Dallas, south of the Trinity on the west, south of 30 on the east, is 60% of our land mass. You can fit the city of Atlanta inside southern Dallas. We are going to be showing significant growth in the last 3 years from what's happening in projects and the like. But the answer really is neighborhood by neighborhood, and that's why I'm so pleased at what's happening in the Cedars. I mean, you go now from the Omni east down Lamar, and the amount of buildings is just remarkable. We'll have had, after this weekend, we'll have gotten to show off the Cedars to Vice President Biden and President Obama. And it's one of the great stories in America, just that little area. And you've got that on the west side that's happening. You've got that in North Oak Cliff between Bishop Arts and Jefferson. And then down south, by I-20, there's 3 or 4 projects that are coming up that way. So it's really where I spend probably 40% of my time.
Let me just ask you one last question, Mayor. I was fascinated to read about high school innovation you have. You're going to name a high school City Lab. We happen to have a channel at the Atlantic for those that are into urban practitioner stuff called City Lab. And you're going to be taking high school students and teaching them architecture, urban planning, and that sounds to me both weird and cool. So what's that all about?
Well, you got to understand, to be cool, you have to be weird. Okay, that's the new way you get to be cool.
I'm starting with
okay.
socks.
There we go. You're doing a good job.
Okay.
So DSD is brilliant by deciding that people want choice, and so public school choice is so important. And we need leadership academies like we have. We have a great girls leadership academy. We've got a great boys leadership academy. We've got schools about STEAM. We've got other things. And by 2020, we're going to be trying to get about 20 of these out. So this is one of those. Don't have to test into something. They can choose to get active. And guess what? When they choose to go to a school, guess what happens? They do better. Because they opt in,
right,
as opposed to saying, no, this is where you're going to go. And I think this is a brilliant idea, because last time I looked, urban planning was all about math, okay? Was all about science, was all about physics, okay? And so you're going to be taught those hard skills, but we are a growing city. I'll just leave you with this one thought, okay? And these people know this, but I was with Santiago Calatrava, who designed our bridge over here, over the Trinity, the only bridge like this in the nation. And I was getting frustrated because he and I were both bragging on the great European cities, Vienna and Paris, and he's from Valentia. And I said, but you've got to understand, Santiago, we're only 55 years old. He looked at me and said, that's the great news. That's the great news, because what you're doing now is going to be building a city for centuries that people are going to look back on. And that City Lab High School is going to help us do that. We're in the formation stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to that data, your dashboard.
Well, I'll send it to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Mike Rawlings, thank you.
Thank you.